Hello everyone. Today in this video lecture we shall discuss regarding the endocrinology. The topic is pituitary secretions and their role. Now let us see the location of the pituitary gland. The pituitary is located in the skull. There is a special location, bony box at the floor known as the sella turcica. In this we see a very small pea-sized gland, endocrine gland known as the pituitary gland. Now it is also known as hypophysis. The bony box is called as the sella turcica, where the pituitary lies, and in embryonic stage, the pituitary is produced from the germ layer ectoderm, and it is connected to the hypothalamus through infundibulum. It has three main lobes: anterior pituitary, posterior pituitary, and the middle lobe called pars intermedia. Now, this is the structure of the pituitary gland, hypothalamus, and this is the anterior lobe of the pituitary, the posterior lobe, and then the pituitary is connected to hypothalamus by the connecting stalk called as the infundibulum, and the anterior pituitary is secretory in nature, producing these hormones, and the posterior pituitary stores the hormones produced by the hypothalamus, oxytocin and the ADH, and secretes them. Okay, so we shall see in detail the functions of these hormones. Okay, so just go through this slide. Now let us come to the pituitary secretions. The pituitary hormones, these are the hormones secreted by pituitary, and the respective glands or the respective structures on which the hormones are acting are shown in this picture. The growth hormone, it acts on almost all tissues of the body, and the ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, acts on adrenal gland. The gonadotropins LH and FSH, they act on ovary and the testicles. And TSH acts on the thyroid gland. Prolactin acting on the mammary glands and the reproductive system, and MSH acts on the skin coloring or pigmentation, and the ADH, antidiuretic hormone, acts on the kidney tubules, and oxytocin acts on the uterine muscles and the mammary glands. Now the feedback control is there in case of the pituitary secretions. That means on stimulus of the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary releases hormones that control the different endocrine glands of the body. Once the function of the endocrine hormone is done, the same hormone in the blood has an inhibitory effect on the pituitary or the hypothalamus, that is known as the negative feedback mechanism. Okay. Now, there are 6 important hormones that are secreted by the anterior pituitary. These are the 6 hormones. Among them, FSH and LH are known as the gonadotropins. Now, you can see this is the anterior pituitary. These are the hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary and the respective target structures. Now, let us see the first hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary, that is the growth hormone. Growth hormone is also known as somatotropic hormone. Now, the somatotropic hormone, the growth hormone, is produced by the acidophils of the anterior pituitary. Now, what is the condition under which it is produced? The physiological condition is during the exercise, hypoglycemic condition, starvation, excitement, and exposure to the cold. Under these conditions, the hypothalamus is stimulated to produce what is known as the GHRH, growth hormone releasing factor. It acts on the anterior pituitary acidophils releasing growth hormone. Okay, so once the function is done, the hypothalamus produces somatostatin, the growth hormone inhibitory hormone, which inhibits the acidophils and stop producing the growth hormone. Okay, so remember, growth hormone is a protein hormone consisting of 191 amino acids. Apart from the hypothalamic secretions, the growth hormone secretion is also controlled by neural, metabolic, and hormonal factors. It's a complex mechanism. Now, what are the functions? The first of all, it won't act on any particular gland. Instead, it acts on almost all tissues of the body, stimulating what is known as growth activity. That means cell division and increase in the cell number. Apart from the growth activity, it also results in protein synthesis and conservation of the carbohydrate, because it inhibits the utilization of carbohydrates for energy production, and you can see, and it promotes the lipolysis, or that means release of the fatty acids from the stored fat. So this may also result in ketosis effect. Remember this for the entrance exam, they ask these conditions whether they are a result of growth hormone or not. And it also causes a diabetogenic effect in the blood. There is increase in the blood sugar level due to the growth hormone activity. Apart from these ketosis and diabetogenic effect, the growth hormone, another important function is stimulation of the growth of the long bones of the body. So for that, there is need of the calcium. So it stimulates absorption of more and more absorption of calcium in the intestine. Now let us see the abnormal conditions, that is the hypo and hypersecretion. And in hyposecretion in the childhood results in pituitary dwarfism, and hyposecretion in the adulthood results in a disease known as the Simmons disease. So these are the symptoms. Pause the slide. Please go through these diseases and the symptoms. You can see here hyposecretion in the childhood results in pituitary gigantism, and hypersecretion in the adulthood results in a disease known as the acromegaly. Now, another hormone that is secreted by the anterior pituitary is the adrenocorticotropic hormone. It's also known as corticotropin or the adrenotropin. Again, it is a polypeptide consisting of 39 amino acids. It is produced by the basophils of the anterior pituitary. Now, again, as we all know, hypothalamus is controlling the anterior pituitary. Now, the secretion of the ACTH is under the control of an hormone known as CRH, that is corticotropin releasing hormone. So this stimulates the anterior pituitary to release the ACTH. Now, under what condition ACTH is secreted? It is mainly secreted under stressful condition, like the very cold conditions, hypoglycemic conditions, epinephrine presence, estrogens are secreted, or sometimes different kind of a psychological stimuli can also stimulate the anterior pituitary to release the ACTH. Now, ACTH secretion is also controlled by negative feedback. As I have explained, increased levels of ACTH in the blood inhibits the production of ACTH. Now, what is the function of ACTH? First of all, it acts on the zona fasciculata of the adrenal gland, stimulating it to produce the glucocorticoids, cortisol. The glucocorticoids like cortisol, it is a hormone that is very essentially secreted during the stressful conditions to bring back that stressful condition to the normal. In fact, to cope with the stressful condition, this hormone is very, very essential. To cope with it, it brings about variety of physiological functions, so resulting in managing the stress. Now, what is the role? The glucocorticoids bring about total protein synthesis, and they promote production of steroid hormones from the cholesterol, and there is lipolysis in the body. Insulin secretion increases in the pancreas, so there is retention of sodium and chloride, and water is conserved in the body. There is elevation of the fasting blood sugar, so even when there is no input of the sugar from the body, so then also the fasting blood sugar level can be increased by the ACTH production because it's a stressful condition. And due to the enhanced metabolic activities, there is enhanced excretion of the uric acid in the body. Now, under abnormal secretion, that is a hyposecretion, the ACTH results in Addison's disease, and a hypersecretion, it results in Cushing's disease. Pause the slide and just go through the symptoms. Now, the another hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary is the luteotropic hormone. This hormone is also known as prolactin, or termed as PRL. So another anterior pituitary hormone secreted by the acidophil. It's a protein hormone consisting of 205 amino acids. Now, the hypothalamic regulation of PRL is majorly inhibitory because the stimulatory effects are from the sleep, stress, nipple stimulation, and suckling. These physiological or physical activities can stimulate the anterior pituitary to release PRL. Now, the PRL release is inhibited by the hypothalamus once the function is completed. Now, hypothalamus extracts like some PRL releasing factors and TRH. These have a stimulatory effect. PRL releasing factors and TRH have a stimulatory effect. But apart from that, the hypothalamus majorly inhibits the production of the LTH. What is the function? It has major role in lactation in the post pregnancy, that means production of the milk, and during pregnancy the presence of the PRL is very essential for the development of the mammary glands, and in birds it stimulates production of the crop milk, which is very essential to feed the nestlings. And during pregnancy, now the PRL or the prolactin helps in maintaining the corpus luteum to release the progesterone. Okay, and it also promotes the parental care. Now, under abnormal situations, very rare condition, it is abnormality of the prolactin. But so if there is a hyposecretion, there is less production of the milk. Go through these points, and under hypersecretion, it results in a condition called hyperprolactinemia. So this is a condition where in men and women, it may result in the hypersecretion may result in impotency. More and more secretion may shorten the ovarian cycle, that results in improper development of the egg, resulting in infertility. And in males, so due to the less production of the testosterone, inhibition on the spermatogenesis and libido, that results in impotency. Okay, so these are the disease conditions. Another important hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary is the thyroid stimulating hormone. It is produced by the sinophils of the anterior pituitary. Again, it is a glycoprotein, amino acid chain associated with the carbohydrate, and control is through the negative feedback. Usually, under the cold conditions, more and more TSH is produced. Under hot conditions of the body, there is less production of the TSH. Remember this. Now, it is again controlled by the releasing hormone, that is the TRH, thyrotropin releasing hormone, and somatostatin. They have inhibitory effect on the production of the TSH. Now, what is the role? The main role of the TSH is to stimulate the thyroid gland to produce the thyroid hormones, and for that, the associated functions like accumulation of the iodine and the formation of the thyroxine inside the thyroid follicles are also stimulated by the TSH. Now, the TSH abnormality is due to two important reasons. So the hyposecretion of the TSH is maybe due to a overactive thyroid gland, maybe due to the thyroid overfunctioning. There is more and more production of the thyroid hormones. Under these conditions, there is a negative feedback on pituitary for the less production of the TSH. This is a abnormal disease condition. Under this condition, there is opposite effect to that of the hypothyroidism. That means the person may lose weight despite increasing the amount of the food they are eating. Okay, in spite of that, they may lose weight because of the overactive thyroid. They feel too hot and can experience palpitations or anxiety under the hyposecretion of the TSH, or especially overactive thyroid. Okay, and they may also show enlarged thyroid gland. Now, under hypersecretion, oversecretion of the thyroid metabolically indicates that the thyroid is not functioning properly. It is not secreting the thyroid hormones sufficiently. So this is known as underactive thyroid. So the person is with this condition may feel lethargic, experience weight gain. There is a lot of weight gain, and they may feel cold. Thyroid gland may enlarge and produce the goiter due to accumulation of the iodine. Now, another important hormones, there are two important gonadotropins that are released by the anterior pituitary. One of them is the follicle stimulating hormone. So this is a glycoprotein. So that means the peptide chain is associated with the carbohydrate molecules. Now, this is a very important hormone because lack or insufficient secretion of this hormone may result in infertility or subfertility. That's why in both men and women, FSH is a very, very important hormone. Now, remember, the corpus luteum during the ovarian cycle produces the progesterone. This progesterone release inhibits FSH. Okay, so because this is needed for the pregnancy to continue. Now, so anterior pituitary is under the control of hypothalamus through an hormone known as GnRH, that is gonadotrophin releasing hormone. So this hormone controls the production of both FSH and the LH, that is the luteinizing hormone. Now, the levels of FSH production from the pituitary can be inhibited through these hormones like testosterone and inhibition produced by the gonads. So they can suppress the production of FSH. Now, what are the functions of FSH? As the name indicates, the FSH acts on the ovarian follicles and results in the ovarian cycle. And in men, it acts on the testis, and in women, it acts on the ovaries. So remember, it is produced only in the matured male and female. So they need to be attaining the puberty. Now, in women, this hormone stimulates the growth of the ovarian follicles, but in men, it acts on the Sertoli cells. Okay, so it acts on the Sertoli cells of the testis to stimulate sperm production. This is the assistant spermatogenesis. Now, so this we already have seen. So FSH stimulates the testicular growth and enhances the production of an androgen binding protein by the Sertoli cells, which bring about sustained maturing of the sperms in this way. So this is the role of FSH in the spermatogenesis. Now, what is the abnormal situation when the hypo or hypersecretion of FSH is seen? Now, under the hyposecretion of the FSH, it may result in the fertility problems, associated fertility problems together termed as hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism. Okay, so hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism is a condition in both males and females which may result in infertility. You can see here in females, it results in the poor ovarian functioning, and you can see the eggs may not grow properly. All this results in, go through in detail. So all this results in infertility, but in case of males, it may result in a production of less sperms or no sperms. So this may result in two important conditions like azoospermia and oligospermia. So we can read what are they. So hypersecretion, again, it is having a series of fertility problems together termed as hypergonadotrophic hypogonadism. So under this condition, the FSH is produced in more and more amount, very rare condition. This more and more production of FSH may result in malfunctioning of the ovaries and the testis. This malfunctioning may be resulting in infertility problems. And most of the time, in case of Klinefelter syndrome and the Turner syndrome, there is more production of the FSH resulting in infertility. Now, Now, in women, FSH levels also start rise naturally in women around the menopausal stage. This is important. When the female is achieving her menopause, at that time the FSH levels may enhance. That may result in reflecting in reduction in functioning of the ovary or decline of the estrogen and progesterone production. So, due to the underactivity of the ovaries, you can see increased levels of FSH in the blood in the women of the menopausal stage. So these are the abnormal conditions that are result in due to the hypo and hypersecretion of the FSH. Another gonadotrophin that is released by the anterior pituitary is the luteinizing hormone, also known as interstitial cell stimulating hormone, because it acts on the interstitial cells of the testis. So that is why it is known as ICSH. So it is again a conjugate protein hormone. So it is under the, since it is a gonadotrophin, it is under the control of the gonadotrophin releasing hormone of the hypothalamus. Uh, Apart from that, the stimulations such as the this is a light, temperature, and genital stimulation may also stimulate the production of the LH. What is the role of it? Now, LH mainly binds to the receptors of the gonads, testis, and ovaries, and it regulates the gonadal functions. In men, the LH acts on the interstitial cells, stimulating them to produce the testosterone, which is a very important hormone, sexual hormone. And in women, it acts on the ovaries, stimulating them to produce estrogen and the progesterone. In fact, a very essential hormone for the maintenance of the luteal phase and corpus luteum. And it enhances, LH enhances the cholesterol to produce pregnenolone, is an important compound to produce the steroid hormones. Now, what is the abnormal situation? The abnormal situation is such that under the hyposecretion of the LH, it may result, low levels of LH may result in infertility, and the too little luteinizing hormone stops ovulation in women, because we all know very well luteinizing hormone is very essential for the rupturing of the ovarian follicles. And under the hypersecretion of the luteinizing hormone, there is more and more production of the luteinizing hormone. This may result in again infertility conditions, because optimum secretion is very, very important. So in women, the LH levels that are too high are often connected to polycystic ovary. Okay, so polycystic ovary is a normal syndrome that results in infertility. This may result due to the hypersecretion. One of the reasons is hypersecretion of the luteinizing hormone. Some genetic conditions like Turner syndrome and Klinefelter syndrome can cause high levels of the hormone, resulting in infertility. Of course, in these persons, there is no chance of production of children. Now, next hormone after the gonadotrophins, FSH and LH, the next important hormone produced by the pituitary gland is the melanocyte stimulating hormone. So, it is secreted by the intermediate lobe of the pituitary gland. Now, till now, what we have seen, these hormones, they were produced by the anterior lobe of the pituitary adenohypophysis. Now, the MSH is produced by the intermediate lobe of the pituitary gland. Now, so again, the MSH is a polypeptide. So it is predominantly developed in the poikilotherms, or the ectothermic organisms. Okay, so it is in two forms. It may have either 8 amino acids or 13 amino acids. Based on that alpha and beta, it is classified into. It mainly acts on the skin, controlling the chromatophore system, mainly helpful in either concentrating the skin pigments or dispersing the skin pigment, having a role in giving characteristic color in these organisms. Okay, so this skin coloration is important in case of the poikilotherms. Now, hyper and hyposecretion. So just go through these points. The abnormal role of the MSH, you can understand them. Now, another lobe of the pituitary gland is the neurohypophyseal hormones. That is the posterior pituitary, which is also known as the pars nervosa. As we have seen in the previous pictures, there are no secretory cells, or there are no glandular cells in this area. So this pars nervosa will not produce any hormones, but it stores two hormones, that is the oxytocin and vasopressin, which are produced by the hypothalamic nuclei. For example, the oxytocin is produced by paraventricular nuclei. Vasopressin is probably synthesized by the supraoptic nuclei. These polypeptide hormones, they will be stored in the pars nervosa and released. So there's a picture indicating the pars nervosa. You can see there are no glandular cells here, but the secretions from the supraoptic and paraventricular nuclei, they are stored in the posterior pituitary, and they act on the particular tissues. We shall see them one by one. The first one is the neurohypophyseal hormone, that is the antidiuretic hormone, ADH, also known as vasopressin. So it is a hormone consisting of 8 amino acids, plays a very important role in the osmoregulation of the body. So osmoregulation is, we all know, water balance maintenance. And when ADH is produced, it is produced in a condition when there is decreased blood volume or the blood pressure. So the role of ADH is to bring about the normal condition of the blood volume and the pressure. How it will do it? It will do it by acting on the kidney tubules, increasing the reabsorption of water in the distal and the collecting tubules. Okay, so under the secretion of this hormone causes diuresis. So that is why it is known as antidiuretic hormone. So if there is less secretion of ADH, there is more and more loss of water from the kidneys. So that condition where there is more excessive loss of the water is known as the diuresis, or also termed as diabetes insipidus. So this will stimulate the animal to drink more and more water. Okay, are you understanding? More production, the less production, under secretion of the ADH will result in excessive loss of water. That is a diuretic condition. So to avoid this diuretic condition, this hormone is secreted. That is why it is known as antidiuretic hormone. So due to the excessive loss, the animal may drink lot of water to equalize the loss of water. Are you understanding? Okay. Now, the ADH, apart from increasing the water reabsorption in the kidneys, it may help in dilating the pores of the amphibian skin and helps in water absorption. Okay, so do you all know that the frog skin is very wet? That condition is due to the secretion of the ADH in the frog. Now, in desert animals which face a dry condition, water demanding condition, in them we can see there is more and more production of ADH, because the conservation of water is very, very important in these animals. Now, apart from this, the ADH also plays an important role in acting on involuntary muscles of the intestine, gallbladder, urinary bladder, all these areas, again, to bring back the blood volume or the blood pressure to the normal. This action of the ADH on these structures is what is known as a pressure effect. This helps in bringing back the blood pressure to the normal. Now, another neurohypophyseal hormone is the oxytocin. This oxytocin is again a peptide hormone consisting of 8 amino acids. What is the role of it? There's two important roles. One is during the parturition, it acts on the uterine muscles, resulting in more and more vigorous contractions, resulting in the childbirth. And during the copulation, coitus, it increases the motility of the uterine muscles so that the semen can propel till the ovarian tube and result in fertilization. And post-pregnancy time, the oxytocin acts on the memory alveoli ducts and result in ejection of the milk. Okay, and in birds and fishes, birds and reptiles, it plays an important role in their reproductive behavior. Okay, so these are the hormones of the neurohypophysis. So this is in detail regarding the hormones of the pituitary and their role. Thank you.